Oh no.
Oh, Gonky's muted.
Gonky. I thought it was me. I was like, what happened? What did I do?
Oh no!
Oh,
Oh
Gonky.
no! How did that
And I was
happen?
literally about to say, you guys are so much better at this than me, but no.
Gonky said he was running this tonight, so I was like, I'm gonna see what he does.
You know what? Controls release. You know, I'm done. I can't.
Jesus to the wheel.
I think he did it on purpose.
He hit the live button, but then nothing else. So
Yeah, well, I accidentally unplugged. Dude, I accidentally unplugged my mic, and so like it went all to my laptop speakers, so I was in a flail. So standard. But now that you know,
helmet fire.
Yeah, it's like
I feel like, yeah.
If that's my one snafu, I'll take it.
If that's all that happens.
Mover, you have a new office.
Yeah, this is terrible. This is I thought about, you know,
he's dabbing away the tears with the money.
Yes. Actually, his office is now also his bedroom. So I think Casmo, he's had to move into smaller accommodations.
It's almost only a matter of time before, if there's a next door neighbor, they start banging on the walls telling me, shut up, it's too loud, stop making noises.
Tell them they're not watching the right show. That's what you do.
That's right.
Well, it depends on if they're male or female. If it's a male, they're probably watching. If it's a female,
bye, Mover.
Probably not. Yeah,
exactly.
Canceled.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Doug, you with us?
Yes, sir. Am I? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I can hear you.
I can hear you. Yeah. So we'll give
Can
it
you
a
hear
shot.
me?
Yeah. Okay. Mover is reporting from a special location.
Yeah, is it on the? Oh, yeah, it does kind of give it away, huh? Okay, well.
Yeah, I mean, who would have thunk it, man? I mean, there's a bed back there with two lamps.
At least there's nothing embarrassing like on the nightstand, right? Like I sanitized that. Yeah. The bed's made.
What are you?
The cuck chair back here.
You got to lock that chair. Man.
Every hotel room's got the cuck chair. So true.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
Kids, hide your ears or whatever.
Casmo, welcome. What have you been up to, man? It's been a little while. I know I was on your show a couple weeks ago and Mover a couple weeks before that, but what's been going on?
Nothing, just hanging out, just waiting to start. Let's see, last week I sold a house, bought a house, still waiting to start working. So that's always fun, buying a house when you are between jobs. But getting all the contractors lined up to get all the stuff done, and then making DCS videos because, you know, whatever.
Wait a minute.
Doing my show tomorrow. And with you. Yeah. That was a lot. That was more challenging than I expected.
Dude, I made him debrief.
Casmo, dude.
Gonky, let me tell you how this went. Right. So like 2 months ago, he's like, hey, you want to do some Apache stuff sometimes? Like, sure. So we get in Apache, we just like screw around. We're just like flying around. It's not a big deal, you know, just kind of BSing. And he's like, do you want to do some F-16 stuff? I was like, yeah, cool. I show up. this motherfucker, he's like, all right, we're gonna do this. And he's like doing all this stuff. And I don't fly the F-16 in DCS, so I don't know it very well. And I'm like, all right, how do I unlock the wheel to turn? Like that's the level I'm at. And he's throwing a lot of stuff at me. And granted, it's very hard to teach over this medium of not seeing each other and things like that. So he did a great job. I'm just dumb. But you know how it is when you're in the cockpit, you only retain 30% of what somebody's telling you. And so I'm playing catch up and he's like, do this and this and this. And I'm like, and I'm trying to, figure out the speed. And it was, I could tell he was very done with me by the end, but I had a good time. I enjoyed it, but it was more intense than I was prepared for, but now I'm ready.
Casmo, that is a perfect representation of if you go like when Mover went to the Hornet, his big boy program, they're like, hey, get in it and let's go. When you go from the Hornet to the MiG-28/T-38, they put you through this gigantic, crazy course that's it's long. It took me longer to solo in the T-38 than it did in the Hornet, and it's painful. and I'm like, it must be an Air Force thing. It's bred into him, man. So don't. Yeah. He just can't help himself. He's like, oh, a debrief would be fun.
No, it was. I mean, the debrief was helpful. Don't get me wrong, but I think the second night is when it got really intense, and we were doing stuff. And I remember sitting there and he's briefing, and I said, hey, when do normal people have this conversation? Like, how far along in training are they? He's like, oh, they already have their wings. They're already been doing this 2 years. And I'm like, cool. I got 4 hours in this thing, but let's do it. Let's rock. So it was educational, but it was work. It was a good time though.
And all we did was IFF stuff, Gonky. It wasn't like we're out there doing, DCA, point defense, WIC level LFE. Yeah. This was tactical. Right. This was in position and not going blind and flying in front of your flight lead.
Look, I'm trying to slow the thing down. It will not slow down.
Look, I'm not taking sides in this. I'm just illustrating the fact of.
I'm being a good flight lead. I'm like, hey, reference 230, set 350, and next thing I know, I'm like, hey, are you visual? Well, no, I can't do both. I can't fly and be visual. What are you talking about?
We were like two old women at some point. We were just bickering. He was done with me. I was done with him. I'm like, what do you want me to do?
Dude, that's what it was. That's perfect.
We needed an Apache. What do you want? I see it, goddammit. What do you want me to do with it?
Yeah. Exactly. That's how I felt. Exactly. Yeah, I see the mountain. What do you want me to do with it? Yeah.
You see that big honking viper killing mountain out there, son?
And this is why we always fly around at least two in a formation for support. So
yeah. Well, there was no emotional support, but
Well, cool. Uber, I guess. It was fun. I guess you spent a lot of your time shepherding Casmo around, or what else did you get into? Anything good?
I've been traveling, dude.
And
I hate it.
And
I don't want to travel.
You don't want to travel?
I don't like travel.
No planes, trains, and automobiles for Uber.
No. Automobiles are fine. Trains might be any public transportation is going to be a no. That's where I draw the line.
Yeah, I know,
business.
Yeah, exactly.
We need this show to do a lot better than 361 viewers, Gonky.
I know, man. I know. Then we could fly ourselves around, right? I mean, I don't know. Hey,
Kazakhstan, that turned out to be fake news. We'll talk about there in a minute. So maybe the planes are still available for 20 grand a pop.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Well, I missed you at drill weekend, so this is a tough week for me because it's like nonstop, man. Saturday, Sunday, working at the mill, and then
that's right.
Roll into Monday, and Mover's on wherever he's at, some vacation, and
that's right.
Oh man, look at that.
Dude, Thomas Cruise flying a cargo plane full of rubber dog shit.
They let you sit up front? Like, I don't know. You're actually flying?
He's like, dude, this is Kim Jong-un. This is Kim Jong-un and his...
I tell you what, man. I've never been inside a C-130, which that is a Hurricane Hunter C-130, which we'll talk about here later on. But that is the J model. So it's the old, like they have the oldest J models, but dude, it's kind of like a kit plane, man. Like the 99% of airplane around me is super old, and then they put some like glass in front of you. But yeah,
I think I jumped out of one of those J model.
Did. Really? No, there's
Did you have to do the song C-130 rolling down the strip? Like, do you know that song?
Oh, I was in the 82nd Airborne for like 6 years. Yeah, I know that song. I'm familiar.
Are you a leg? Is that what it is?
No, I jumped. I mean, I'm a 5
I don't
jump
know.
jump.
I'm saying words at this point. I don't know what any of that means. I heard some words.
That's how I felt the other night flying with you. But yeah, no, I jumped. I jumped 5 times, and that was enough for me.
Fair.
Oh, dude, out of a C-130, that's awesome, man. No, these were on the flight line. They had the weather ones and they had the tactical ones, which you probably jumped out of a TAC one. But it was cool. They were running one when we pulled up, and then they shut it down, and I got a tour of the nose to tail, man. So kind of cool. I mean, it's old. You can tell it's old, even though it has the newer looking props on it, and it's got some screens up front. And it has the HUD is like probably 3 times as wide as the HUD in the Hornet, but she's still you can tell it's an older design. But
yeah. Well, I'm glad you had fun, Gonky. I guess I would be remiss if I didn't say hello to the people that are in the class that I'm in, because about 20 people are like, hey, Gonky. So I just want to say hello to those that may be watching.
Yeah, you're probably masquerading as me.
I am. I'll tell this story. Yesterday, I was in the hotel going to the elevator, and this guy goes, "Hey," I'm like, "Key, y'all. What are we about to do here?" And so, because I'm just waiting for that day. Almost happened the other day, but that's a different story. We won't tell on this. But so he's like, "Hey," I'm like, "Hey." He goes, "Who are you?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" I'm thinking it's because we have to have our ID everywhere. I'm thinking somebody challenging me because I'm not supposed to be in the building. And he's like, "You got a YouTube channel?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Who are you?" And I said, "Well, you tell me. You're the one who,
Right.
I'll start joking with him. Like, you tell me." He goes, "Huh. You're on YouTube." I said, "Yeah, we got that." And he goes, "Fighter jets." And I'm like, "Yeah, mover." And he goes, "Nah, that's not it. What is it? It's got to be something else." I'm like, "No, mover." He's like, No, it's something else." I'm like, "Oh, hey, it's nice to meet you."
Yeah. Yeah, my name's Gonky.
Yeah, hi, Gonky. I'm Doug. Hello.
Oh, dude.
Gonky, have you ever been recognized in public?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Gonky
This
does all the
guy
time.
right here.
Dude, you gotta stop showing that picture, man.
This guy.
The C-130 pilot extraordinaire.
Yeah. No,
This guy.
yeah.
Dude, this was probably
Can I sit
taken
in a
by his
cockpit?
biggest fan.
Dude, my wife, she just rolls her eyes now. Because I mean, it's kind of weird because like we're all 3 just normal dudes, and it's almost like a what? Oh
Yeah.
The 3
It's
women
only
that
happened to
watch
me a
this
few
channel,
times, but it's weird.
Yeah.
Weird feeling.
Well, how do you get recognized? Your face is like it's all decent. Like you've done maybe a handful of videos.
No, well, so the first time it happened, I was bringing a 7.3 into a maintenance facility in Tucson, Arizona. So we land, and I'm getting out of the aircraft, and I'm just doing a walk around. And as I'm walking up the left side of the aircraft, one of the ground personnel that was working there, he's like, "Excuse me, sir." And I thought he was going to tell me like I left the lights on or something like that.
Yeah.
And because I was still pretty early flying, so I was like, "There's something I've missed." And he says, "Do you have a podcast?" And I just kind of looked at him funny. And so it turns out when I was getting off the plane, I must have said something to someone, and he recognized my voice. Wow. And so he went to I dropped my bags, and I had a name tag on my bag. So he went over, looked at my bag, scoped the name, Googled me, and then determined who I was. So that was the first time I was recognized. Wow. Yeah, it was weird. Well, yeah, but I mean, my face is out there. It's on some of my videos, but I'm obviously not as big as you guys. You guys can all the time.
It is buttery smooth. It is the voice of the Apache.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about all that, but yeah.
It is calm.
Like it goes Tommy Lee, Nick Cage, Casmo.
Yes, that's right. Dude.
Just on the sex appeal category. I understand. Thank you.
All right.
You're not quite panty on your head, but
not quite.
Nice.
A few more of these,
minutes
maybe.
in, mover.
15 minutes and we have talked about nothing. We got some things from the audience. Let's talk about what the kids at home want to talk about.
People love it.
Blake.is says mover needs to green screen his normal background.
Yeah.
If Luna doesn't show up, it means one of you 3 is a princess. Dude, if Luna shows up, that means that she has like I'm quitting all jobs, and she's gonna like we're gonna capitalize on that. If Luna finds a way here, we're gonna capitalize on that. That would be
go find Mover, girl.
Yeah. Ethan, Movers missed chance to swivel in the chair like Dr. Evil. Yeah, too many wires, dude.
Right.
I would have full up strangled myself if I tried that.
I can see him doing it anyway and be like, oh.
We'll just mute him.
Yeah, there's no cool way to do that. I'm lucky I'm even in this chair. Aaron says,
thanks.
Hey, y'all, I fly down in Marathon, Florida Keys. I usually fly down to Key West. What does the report the initial for the overhead brake mean? Oh, yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So they gave you that at Marathon, huh?
Steerman. In a Steerman, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Come up initial at 84 knots.
Yeah, initial is just a point. Yeah. Yeah, initial is just a point, I don't know, 3 to 5 miles from the runway that typically they'll tell us to report as we're coming into the break. Hopefully get the carrier, drop down a little bit lower. But I think it's just for, tower SA so they can make sure their timing is right for people landing in front of you or if they're trying to like work a takeoff. But yeah, awesome.
Big Cheese says, best wishes in the new format, folks. Just watched all your interviews on Casmo's channel. Pure gold. Casmo, were you aware of the Apache weapons test against the moving Ford Raptor? Thank you.
No, can't say that I was.
Pretty sure it'd be just like any other moving target, right? Just lead it a little bit.
You don't even have to lead it. You just
put the thing on the thing.
Just put the thing on the thing and pull the thing, and it makes the thing go away.
Casmo, it occurs to me that you are this generation's whatever that guy was on Longbow. IHADs. You're the IHADs guy.
That is a running joke that I've got
Bob
with Ray. Press the I key to move the IHADs.
You are like the Gen whatever's after Z version of that.
Yeah, Z Alpha. Yeah, I've actually joked about doing it. I need to do that for one of these tutorials that I'm doing for the 58. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Press the X key.
Captain Rex says, oldest J models, laughs, cries, and Canadian.
Yeah.
America's hat.
In my travels, I met a Marine KC-130 guy.
Yeah, I wonder what I can't remember what model they fly, but it's
I don't think
not
they fly
newer
anymore. They lost their airplanes to the active duty. So
okay.
But he was in that squadron. Remember the mishap in Mississippi?
Oh, like a couple years ago?
Yeah, that was awful. Yeah. Awful. Pete says, HUD go away. My Finney flight in the Herc in 2009 was in a 63E model.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. You're right, Pete. Anything with a HUD is not that old. But...
Dude, he's coming in on a Baron 55, breaking about 180.
Nice. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yeah. Request the carrier.
The shit hot.
800 feet.
What is the shit hot in a 180 knot Baron?
180 knots. Don't go any faster, dude. We don't want a mishap.
Yeah, let's not. All right. Breaking / controversial news. Casmo. Army has redirected training funding, and we want to talk about it.
Yeah, we were just scrambling on this one. So, and I've been hearing this for a few days that...
Where'd Casmo go? Hold on, Douglas. What did you do?
Casmo.
Lost him.
Douglas.
I'm here.
There you are. But now
I don't know how to do both.
There we go.
All right.
There we go.
All right. Yeah. So I literally found this article 3 minutes before we went live. So I'm not sure exactly what this one says, but the word on the street for the past week is that money had been pulled from both aviation brigades and from Fort Rucker, or I'm sorry, Fort Novoselov, the name changed, for Ukrainian aid. This article is claiming that it's not, and I think the gist of it was that they're just moving money around, which if anyone's ever dealt with the military or any large organization, I mean, yeah, you hear about different colors of money, and I think that's really what this boils down to. I've been hearing people saying that at flight school that they've had classes canceled or training pushed back or things like that, but now I'm not so sure. Yeah, I don't really know what's going on with this, but I would say I know guys that are relatively new pilots that are at units, and they're one of 9 new guys, and they're supposed to, let's say you've got a company of I don't know, 18 pilots. You're supposed to have 3 instructor pilots. You'll have units that have 1 instructor pilot and 9 new guys. Well, how do you progress those guys? How do you get them combat ready? Because they don't show up that way. They just show up certified, and then you're supposed to do the train up. So, personally, I almost feel like I wish they would stop training and allow the units to get caught up with getting instructors progressed and getting guys ready. Because, the Army's pretty big. I don't think people realize how big it is. Like, I kind of made the joke that, oh no, we can only fly 900 of our 1,200 Apaches. Like how much do you need? So I don't know what's going on. I don't know if they really are stopping training. If they are, whatever, it won't last forever. Now, they are apparently pulling money, I've heard, from the actual units, from brigades, which would be like a wing, I think, for you guys. That's problematic because, of course, that's cutting into flying hours, which are already kind of at an all-time low. Just availability, again, of instructor pilots to get guys progressed, and availability of getting guys progressed to be a pilot in command. So, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to watch, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Casmo, I talked to an Army guy today, and he was talking about experience levels and the fact that he feels like the Army in general is pushing younger and younger and younger guys out the door, and then they're not getting enough experience. Did you see that in your time?
Well, the thing about it is, the Army is going through, and I'm sure it's the same to some extent for the fixed wing side. It's a change of focus, right? So when you're fighting the coin fight, you, at least for helicopters, particularly for helicopters, you fly a certain way. Well, now you get into the near peer, peer on peer type stuff where hovering becomes more of a factor. Nobody was hovering in Iraq and Afghanistan. You hover when you land, and that's about it. But now that's a real thing, and we're seeing that in Ukraine, and we're seeing what happens when it goes wrong. So I think what the problem is when you hover, and this, Mover, when you hover, you're using a lot more power in the aircraft. It's a lot. Things are dicier. You don't have as many outs for a bad situation. So you're taking young guys, you're putting them in very heavy aircraft, you're putting them in these situations that they're not used to flying, and that can lead to problems. And so we've seen a lot of crashes here very recently. And I don't know this for fact, but what I've heard is that some of them are pretty much a result of loss of tail rotor effectiveness. And then we can get into the design of the Apache, which essentially I'll pare it down, and talking to people much smarter than me. The current Apache Echo model has a bigger main rotor than the Alpha model. It has bigger transmission, better engines. It's creating more power. It still has the same tail rotor. So the same old tail rotor is not generating enough thrust necessarily. And so guys are putting themselves in situations where they can lose tail rotor effectiveness. And once you do that, it's very challenging to get out of it. It can be done, but if you're a very junior guy and you're not very experienced with it, you could be in a bad situation. So that's what I'm hearing is possibly happening. I don't know this for fact, but that's what I've heard.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know, Casmo. You're right. That's across the board, man. Really, since probably 2009-ish, the money has just been, and it's real bad now. Even on the fixed wing flying side. So I'm not surprised that the Army's doing that, is in the same boat. I would be surprised, if this article is actually true, if they actually did take a bunch of money and give it away when, hey, our guys actually need it. But yeah.
Trying to, and it's the same, I think, for you guys as well, right? I remember talking to Rain, who was in a squadron F-16s where, their big focus was seed, but you still have to train for all the other things that you have to do. And so when you cut, and that's what people maybe don't understand, is it's not just flying hours, it's the quality of the hours. And so if you've got multiple things that you're trying to focus on, you've got to cut all those hours out into various things. And it was kind of easy during the coin fight because you just focused on coin. But now it's like, well, I got to be ready to fight coin, but I also got to be ready to fight Russia or China or North Korea or something else. And so there's all these variety of things. Yeah, it's very challenging.
Well, dude, on top of that, I think Mover could probably attest to this, but when the F-16 first came out, right, Mover, it was winder and gun, right? So, the mission was much more narrow in scope. And, oh, by the way, those guys had 2,000 hours over 4,000 sorties, you know? So, now, which is the way it should be. But now, that same F-16 carries, all kinds of crazy stuff, right? So, I mean, and then you couple that with reduced money for flying hours, and it's, the airplane has, 10 times the capability, and you're getting 10% of the opportunity to fly it, and it's not good.
Oh, it's going to be the same thing with the EX.
Yeah,
EX will be the same way. It's not your A model F-15 that does one mission, not a pound for air to ground. It's going to be Eagle squadrons suddenly getting the dreaded B word, and they're going to have to train for all these missions. And there's only going to be 79, 100 of them, 80 of them, whatever it is. It's not enough. So they're brand new, but jets break.
Yeah. And there's no way. When I first came to my first fleet squadron, it was way 05. My skipper was a Tomcat guy, and
Tomcats.
In my in brief, he said, when I was a brand new guy in the Tomcat, he said it took about a year and a half, and I mastered the air to air, because that's all we did was BFM and OCA DCA. He's like, that's all we did. He's like, I mastered it. He's like, in this airplane today, and I mean, we had good money for flying. I flew a lot. But he's like, in this airplane, it's going to take you the full 3 years. And once you get to the end, you're going to feel like you kind of have it, and then we're going to kick you out the door. But that's because I flew, 1,000 hours in my first tour. But people don't get that now.
Oh, dude, I flew 27 BFM sorties in 1 month. You tell that to a young guy right now,
winning,
dude. They'd be like, how mathematically they're like they're pulling the boots off, trying to count like how you could even do that. It's just.
Yeah,
it's insane that
that's the way it should be.
The flying hours just aren't there. I mean, I was very fortunate. Also, my neck feels it today, but I mean, this is why I can now go to Casmo and be like, why aren't you in position for this 9K?
Yeah, but Casmo, I think it's across the board, man. Even on the heavy side, like they're screaming for money too for flight hours. They don't have enough. Not only do they not have enough money to fly, they don't have enough people to fly.
Well, they don't have enough money for the actual missions. I mean,
right.
We'll talk about the heavy side is not. They're not LARPing. They're out there doing an actual no kidding mission. So and the funding, they're like, you guys are active duty. No, you're what now? What?
Wait, your reserve?
Where'd you get this money? Anyway, hey, segue, Gonky.
Yes, sir.
Keeping this on track, is that I don't think you spelled Kazakhstan right.
Pretty sure I copied and pasted because I knew I would not be able to spell that right. Doug, can you QA that? QC it? Can you check it out?
It looks good to me.
Number one Gonky and all.
Just sound it out. It's okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is your article. Just go with it.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Hey, so last week, was it last week? Yeah. Mover didn't report. We talked about an article where Kazakhstan sold a bunch of old fighters to the US, 81 of them for a couple $1 million. Anyways, this article says, hey, that didn't happen. So basically the long story short is Kazakhstan doesn't want to pick any sides, doesn't want to ruffle any feathers. So they're not getting in the middle of as far as selling weapons to either side. So again, it's always, man, you got a QA where you're
well, hold on now.
Yes,
read
sir.
the article. Did you actually read this article?
Of course I read it.
Okay, first of all, you did spell Kazakhstan right, so good on you for that. Second, though, they did not deny that it happened. They denied that it went to Ukraine. And that's a very specific political distinction, right? Because what you have here is they're saying, oh, whoa, because remember, they're still under Russia. Like they're not that far removed from Russia. So they said, no, we didn't give them to Ukraine, which was kind of the people were speculating, right? We didn't know where they were going, but they didn't deny, like they didn't outright, no one has outright denied that the U.S. may have some involvement in this. Because when they went to the Pentagon, if you read the article, it says, well, we're not going to comment. So there's no comment from the Pentagon, which, and then Kazakhstan's like, it's not going to Ukraine. We don't want anybody to think that.
But they did say they did say in the article they don't want to take sides. It's at the bottom somewhere. I remember reading it.
Right, but the original premise was U.S. bought 81 jets,
Yep.
which is what the Kyiv Post actually is what reported it. So, I mean, on that note, now granted, to your point, Gonky, there's so much misinformation out there that,
Yes.
and what's funny, and the reason I even, sent this to you is because we did this on Monday, and on Wednesday this came out. So it's like, how do you trust anything?
It's tough, right? And I mean, we had it with the Harrier shooting down drones. I mean, it's it's good to kind of sit on the middle and evaluate what you're reading sometimes, but either way, looks like it's probably not true. But you know what? I'll take one. Mover and I could use an airplane. Casmo too, yeah. You want an airplane?
I heard the U.S. sold them to pay for Army flight school, so that's what I think's probably happening. Yeah.
That's where the 100 million went, man.
That's it. Different color of money.
That's right, man.
Well, dude, I mean, 20 grand. And the reason to me it doesn't sound so absurd is because in the heyday, when these Eastern Bloc countries were divesting from Russian equipment, deals like this were happening. And there were people getting L-39s in crates for cheap prices, MiG-21s in crates for cheap prices. Certain people bought MiG-23s pretty cheap, several of them, I mean, so it's not that crazy with some of the deals you've seen out there. I don't doubt that someone is buying them. I mean, I don't think we ever, Ukraine, it never made sense. Parts maybe, but actually giving them jets, I don't know. But it's just interesting to me that the jets have to go somewhere. Somebody's buying them.
Maybe we'll find out. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right. Well, on to lighter news. Gonky, this is actually great that Casmo's here. So they made an ad, Casmo. Have you seen this?
This is really cool, dude.
They made an ad that basically makes fun of us.
You think
is
so?
This the Coca-Cola thing? What is this?
No.
Yeah, I thought when I first, do you guys see this? I'm on a laptop, so pardon me. But I thought when I first watched this, it's like a Super Bowl ad when it first came out. And they actually turned this into a 3-minute short film, which we'll watch in a second. But it says a new short film from Xfinity has been released to honor Military Appreciation Month. And so they reunited these old fighter pilots that served in the Vietnam under the USS Saratoga. It was the first time Jack Razor Gillette, former Lieutenant Jim.
It's got to be Gillette.
Yeah. Gillette, yeah. Zeke Lloyd and former Lieutenant Bill Offender Moyer had been face to face in 16 years. I thought these were actors. No. They were joined by Alistair Hollywood Latham, who is now, I don't know if I believe a Marine was called Hollywood.
No, he became an Air Force pilot, dude. So he was the Marine sergeant during the war, and then he became
okay, makes sense.
That checks.
Got copy. Zeke was shot down in enemy territory. Razor and Offender came to save him. He was actually shot down on a mission, surviving for us. He was able to evade for 6 hours before fellow pilots showed up to rescue him. He was given the chance to go home. Instead, he stayed where he felt he belonged. When I got back to the safety of the fleet, I learned what the Navy did for me. So many risks or futures to help secure mine. When I learned that, I couldn't go home. I kept flying till the war ended. And so this granddaughter helps her veteran father and grandfathers fly again. And we'll show the video in a minute. But the whole idea is that they get reunited in VR. And it becomes, DCS-ish stuff. And it says Xfinity is a leading employer of veterans in the country. Dude, honestly, I saw this ad. I thought it was fake. Like, I thought this was just them cashing in on, the whole DCS thing. But apparently it's not.
The popularity of it. Yeah.
DCS is a good game.
You gonna play it?
A good game.
Yeah, I'm working on it, Gonky. Just give me a minute.
Dude, yeah. No, I watched the background, like the making of it.
Doug,
which is also pretty cool.
Can you add it to the stage? I can't see it right now if I do this.
Watch the music, man. We'll get thrown in YouTube prison.
All right. You ready?
What's that, Grandpa?
This is what I would wear in the plane. And you pop that on over there. That's right. That's perfect. Look at us, knuckleheads. That's Zeke, Razor, there's Hollywood, and that's Offender. Don't ask.
And they're all coming?
Those who are still with us, yes.
Those who are still with us.
This is an A4 Skyhawk. We love those things. I'd take you up in one if I could.
I don't know, honey. You don't think they're a little too old for that?
That's what your wife says, Gonky.
Every day.
Grow up.
Yeah, maybe you show her this ad so she'll get off, let you buy a system.
This is pretty cool, man.
I'm trying to. I don't want to get us.
Yeah. So where did this air?
It's a well, the commercial is the end part. This is on their channel.
Okay.
So like, I think part of this became a commercial. Like,
I gotcha.
And I only saw this is the first time I'm seeing this whole thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I never watched the whole video. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's pretty cool, man. I'm gonna say they spent a lot of money on VR goggles.
It looks.
Sponsored by Pimax.
Get 10% off with code MOVER.
You're weak.
Use code Hollywood.
Yeah, this is pretty cool.
All right, that for sure is going to get us.
Yep.
Yeah, we're taking that part off.
There was no music. Everyone forget that.
It's too bad. That's an awesome song.
It is. Yeah.
Connect to headset.
If we sing it, I don't think it counts against us.
We could. Their lips. Woo! They're saying woo.
For sure. For sure, they fly better than I do in.
Hey, look!
In DCS.
He crossed in front of his flight league like Casmo.
See, maybe I'm just cut from a different cloth.
Yeah, you're the little girl. You're definitely the little girl.
I'm the little girl. Look, I've been called this by better.
There you go. Awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. So like on his don't get rid of Casmo, he's a guest.
Sorry.
Yeah, just a little girl. What do I know?
I watched it and I watched it a second time. My son watched it with me, but they had on his jacket, it was like NG, and I was like, that's in the diamonds, we were NG, and so I was like pausing it, but he was in I guess VA 35. Which
don't we have Pete that always watches? That's an A4.
Yeah,
guy?
he's an A4 guy. Yeah. I don't know. I can't remember the squadron he was in, but yeah, dude, Pete's watching. Let us know, man.
A4 guys love that jet. Like everybody, I've never met an A4 guy that's like, man, like everybody hands down is like, I love that jet.
Yeah. Even when it was instead of the T-45 is a TA4. I talked to many Tomcat guys who, when you ask, hey, what's your favorite jet? They're like, actually the A4. Because
didn't the Blue Angels fly that for a bit too?
Yeah,
for a long time, man.
The Van Halen, right? Wasn't Van Halen wasn't that the A4? I used to watch that. It used to come on when we go to Gulf Shores. The little video. With
I
Van
think
Halen.
Wasn't it an MTV video? Like, wasn't it like?
Yeah.
That's the video for that song, right?
Yeah, but they would play it like as some kind of public service or something in Gulf Shores for the Pensacola thing. So
yeah. Now that it's just like I told dude, old man moment. Help me out, man. He's been on the show, he makes DCS. Wags. It's like I told Wags, man. Like I put on the VR goggles and I'm like back in my 20s, and visually, like my brain is like, oh, here I am, back in the day, so I can't imagine.
Well, and that's why, Casmo, we're kind of joking about it, but dude, honestly, you get into that, like eventually it's real enough that you're like, why is 2 out of position? Like your brain just goes to I got to write this down. It's going to be a note for the debrief later. Like
I could tell you were slipping into it, and that's why like I wasn't mad because I know like I know where you were with it, right? Like I could tell like you're getting excited about it. I mean, I just flew with another guy. We flew Kiowas together, and we're both working on the Kiowa that's going to get released for DCS. So we did a little route reconnaissance the other day, and like he was lead, I was trail up high. He started getting shot at. I dove in, and I got done, and I went to my wife, and I was like, "That's like." I just felt like I went back in time. Like it was that realistic. So it is easy to slip into that. So I think, for if, the story that we just saw in this video, that would be totally cool. I could see that just slipping back into time. Yeah, absolutely.
And dude, I was looking at your comments, which your fan base is way cooler when it comes to that stuff. Cause mine would have been like, you're not a real fighter pilot. Why were you 10 seconds off? There's no way, you're trash.
Yeah.
But one of your commenters was like, you could tell he misses it, and 100%.
Yeah.
1000%. And that's honestly, that's part of the reason I don't do it as much, is because, dude, it's a scab. When you are like, hey, I miss it, and you do it again, and you're like, God, I love that feeling. Oh, it's not real. It's like waking up from a dream. You're just like, yeah, okay. Yeah. But to their credit, they have done such a good job with the modeling, as far as you feel like you're in a cockpit, that it's hard to tell the difference. It's hard not to. Every now and then I'll catch myself reaching up like, oh, I gotta, click that off or whatever. And you're like, there's nothing. I just knocked over a water bottle. Oh crap. Now everything, keyboard's ruined. Oh no.
I've reached up in VR to block the sun.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only going to get better, which is the scary, cool thing. I mean, by the time that we're as old as these gentlemen are,
we're already there, Gonky.
We are. What's funny is like when it's so funny, like when the old guy pulls out the VR goggles, he's like, "What is this?" That's kind of like, I was like, "What is that?" Like when I was watching it, I was like, "Oh, it's VR."
Dude, like I said, I met a guy in the gym, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm here, and I'm just starting." And like, how old are you? He's like 33. I'm like, crap, dude. That's how old I was when I started. I mean, like, I am the old guy, and it's we're at that point where we've done it, and this is the VR is the way to get it back. And
at least we have that. I mean,
well,
good on Wags for doing good work, because like I said, I put the goggles on, and it's almost like I'm there again.
Yeah, miss it
without all the pain.
Well, not unless you fly with me, then I'll bring you to the debrief and the.
Yeah,
we drew.
Look at the time.
We brought the lines out. We got the.
It was a solid hour in the debrief. It was a solid hour, which I appreciated. But again, I was unprepared for emotionally. I was like, oh my God,
Casmo, dude. Next time, what you do is be like, let me just check my notes here, and just like, of course, there's nothing written down, but you just and then start making it up, and Mover would be like, oh damn, dude, you took notes. It's like, there's nothing on here. That's what I used to do.
Yeah. But listen,
that was a good time.
Casmo, like we need to educate people. Like everybody's like, oh, it's awesome. Kick the tires, light the fires, go kill the aliens. There's a lot more to it than
more.
Yeah. You want your realism. It's got to hurt.
100%. Yeah. I mean, that's what I always bring up. I always share the picture of like the cockpit temperature when I was in an Apache in Iraq, and it says, forward cabin is 120 degrees. I'm like, yeah, I had to sit in this for like 20 minutes waiting for the ECU to get kicked on, and for everything. Like there's so much pain that goes into real flying.
It would tell you how hot it was in the cockpit.
Yeah.
Now, I guess I'll ask both of you, in the Apache and the Viper. Like the thermostat in the desert was always full cold. Like you just like it stayed there.
Well, in the desert for sure. At Homestead, we had to switch it because you had to get the water out of the system, kind of like the T-38. It wasn't as bad as the T-38, but you'd still have to, get the water out of the system because all that condensation it'd be blowing ice chunks at you.
Yep. Yeah. Same in the Apache, man. In the desert, you just leave the temperature knob to full cold.
Well, it's all digital. It's through the screen, but yeah, I mean, you,
Oh, wow.
you punch it in and
Look
get
at
it down
that.
cold. Yeah.
Sorry.
It's
Oh, wait.
fancy.
Does
I
the
know.
Kiowa have an
No
air
big deal.
conditioner, or is it just the
Fuck,
doors
no,
open?
no. The Kiowa, no, absolutely no doors. Kick it out
Yeah.
of trim, get some wind going.
Yeah.
Apache has
No, we had a heater, but that
dual
was it.
zone digital climate control.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
Dual
that's right.
zone. It probably
Yeah.
did have dual zone, man.
Yeah, you sweat twice as much if it quits.
Yeah. Yeah, it was miserable. The Kiowa was a miserable experience when it was hot and when it was cold. Like there was just you just wanted like spring and fall. Like that was good Kiowa weather. Everything else sucked.
I will only fly in Portland. This is the only place that's a useful helicopter. All right.
All right. Hold on. To the next one?
No, we got some chats.
Oh, okay.
Let's see here. Hey everyone, Gonky, what squadrons were you in when you flew the Hornet?
VFA 125, 122, 146, and then 18 Squadron. Oh, VFA 204. Sorry.
Strykefatron.
They were all Strykefatron. Yes. World famous in front of all those, by the way. So
Caleb says, you guys both helped inspire me to chase my childhood dreams of becoming a USAF pilot. After several years of work, I've received a pilot slot on the most recent rated selection board. Thank you.
dude, that's awesome, Caleb.
I'm curious, Caleb, did you watch and find out about the is this AFRIC? Because we've pushed that very heavily. You know, remember Gonky, we did the unsponsored stuff. So we've been working with those guys, and I hope that that's a direct results of those efforts, because that's really cool. But good on you.
Yeah,
it's awesome. Don't take any of our bad story like that. 10 years, give it 10 years. And then you get to the first 10 are awesome. Just
you get to 10 years and you earn the right to complain.
Right. Once you get 04, right. You know, it's like
that's
okay,
right.
That's
burn this place down.
Kenneth Johnson says, where can we submit content? I have last minute original coverage that may genuinely be worth sharing regarding A10 Future. I'm 85% serious. I can post to YouTube if necessary.
Oh boy.
Deep intel.
Huh?
Malware.
That's
maybe?
what this is. Deep intel. Send all the ready. No.
Send it to me.
So we've got the mover. It's all one word. The mover and Gonky show @gmail.com. We should probably make a banner.
Probably.
We'll do that later.
Keep talking.
That's fine. James says, here's $2 in Canada.
Hey,
Thanks,
you.
James. Jet scale models, the Starliner mission scrub today. Speaking of scale models, I just watched Cletus's video, and he had this giant, he went to Tyler Perry's house, and there's this like, what was it, 30 feet, 20 feet wingspan C-17 model?
27 feet.
27 feet. This thing.
Like an RC?
Like an RC
C-17,
C-17 with 4 turbine engines.
Ducted
and he were they ducted
Baby
fans?
turbines?
Yeah, they were EDFs.
I thought that the B2's got turbines.
Yep.
Is that what it is? The big B2 he's
big
got?
B2 and that what was the black one that he was flying? I think that had a turbine. But anyway.
I don't think you can say that, Doug.
Canceled.
The black man
moving
was
on.
flying a black jet. We're canceled.
Oh,
moving on.
Stop.
Stop.
I love it. Plexi says it's the video for dreams. There you go. Van Halen Dreams.
Yeah.
Conqueror says, what was your least favorite features on the military aircraft you flew?
No air conditioning.
Yeah, we just covered that.
What was your favorite, Casmo?
Yeah, what
air conditioning.
Dude, it wasn't like the Terminator helmet that the gun looked wherever you looked.
That's cool. Yeah, don't get me wrong. That's totally awesome. I enjoyed that immensely. Being able to just look at something and say, I want that to go away. Yeah, it's very cool. But air conditioning was very strong.
Speaking of that, you taught me something, because now, as a helicopter guy, right? So you taught me about the gun. You could get stuck in the mud. So I went over to Harrison County, and I was talking to them about their new Traca, like Spotlight and FLIR. And I was like, hey, when it's fully down, will it run into stuff? And the answer was no, but I felt Spark for asking.
Right. And they're like, the brains on this dude.
Yeah, like, well, the Apache
next
does
level.
it. Yeah, this guy knows his helicopters.
Man, this guy's switched on.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good to check.
Yeah.
Mover, You didn't answer the question.
What's the question? Least favorite features on the air. Is it a feature? I hated the life support system in the F-18.
Yeah.
I didn't understand it. Like the fact that you had to wear all this crap on you. And was there stuff in the seat too? Like why? Like in the Viper, you had a seat kit. It was all in the seat kit. And if you were in the desert, you felt like naked because it was like you just wore the little harness. There was no horse collar and a G suit. And you'd walk out to the jet and you feel light and fancy free. And you just go fly your 9G sortie and nothing hurt. But then you go to the Hornet and it's like, I got to wear everything. I got a 40-pound radio for some reason. Like there's no digital technology. It was just this old prick 112 Alpha or something, like the oldest radio they could find. Yeah. An valid 40-foot whip antenna. And valid. Like, an actual flare gun. Like, why am I carrying all this stuff? And then the harness, because the Navy was too cheap to go to Home Depot and get little clips that you had to step into and pull it up like a pair of panties and then swim into to get on. Yeah. Like, why, dude? Why can't we just put it on like boop, boop, see you out there?
I don't know, man. Maybe
explain yourself.
Explain the Navy.
I guess just men like our accessories, dude. I don't know. I don't know if you're
Navy men. It is interesting to fly. Like I remember like all the kit I had to wear overseas, like the body armor and the survival gear and, just ammo out the wazoo. And then to go fly without any of that. Yeah. It's so weird feeling. It's just, you're like, no, this is wrong. Like I can sit all the way in the seat and the cyclic's not hitting me in the junk. Yeah, this is weird. Yeah.
Do you guys wear body armor?
Yeah.
Like plate carriers and stuff?
Yeah.
So that adds.
I didn't. It's heavy. Yeah, it's a lot. I never wore the back plate because like in the Kiowa, I couldn't fly if I wore the back plate because I would already have to take the seat cushion out of the back. But if I put the plate carrier in, I would end up sitting so far forward I wouldn't get full cyclic aft. So I just was like, just don't shoot in the back.
Well, you should just say it's like Black Hawk Down. Well, I don't plan on running away.
Exactly. That's it. 100%.
My safety right here.
Yeah, we would carry a lot of stuff, and then you carried so much ammo. I mean, we would carry just gobs of 6 or 7 9mm mags, a bunch of M4 mags, because it was like if you're going down, you're going hard.
That made sense for you, but I was a dumbass lieutenant that had watched The Punisher too many times. So I show up in Iraq, and I'm like, "Give me all the mags." What do you mean all the mags? I'm like stuffing mags in like places that mags don't go. I had like 6 mags on me. So what happens? I give myself back problems because now I'm like hunched over in the jet for 7 hours and I'm never going to use any of this. But
it's better to have it, not need it, and need it, not have it.
Because I was like, well, I'm not going to get my head chopped off. I'm going to go down shooting. Give me all the mags you got.
Save the last one for yourself.
That's right.
Very Army of you.
Such a dumb lieutenant. Anyway. Is it your turn? Did you?
Or not? I don't think. Man. I think probably my favorite feature. I like the landing gear on the Hornet because you really can't screw up the landing, even though I did break the landing gear. And then I think the least favorite feature is the OBOGs system in the Hornet. It was horrible. Many of the jets I flew were older with LOX bottles. They were wonderful. On was oxygen, off was nothing. But OBOGs is always like, what am I really getting here? Because we had a lot of issues. So and I ended up having a hypoxia incident in a Super Hornet. So that's mine. Thanks, Conker.
Famous artist T.R. Matson, who is working on his 3rd premiere novel.
Nice.
Has said, what are these American heroes chatting about?
I assume it's us.
Maybe? He's talking about Casmo. Casmo is the only one among us that's an actual combat hero.
That's true.
The rest of us are posers.
We were just support mover.
Yeah, we were high-speed cheerleaders.
That's right. We were the lights flashing in the background.
As I tell people, I was so pleased to know that the F-22s were overhead protecting me from ISIS. It was very good. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
I love
At least you guys were dropping bombs and stuff, so it's cool. It's fine.
B-word? What's a B-word? Thanks,
B-word.
Wombat. Why don't you join us, Wombat? Huh? How about that?
Next time. We'll catch him next time, man. He's
We miss
busy.
you.
He's busy on
We
the next
missed
book.
you. We miss him. We like him. He's a good guy.
We do
him.
miss him.
Casmo, he made you stand at attention. I think he went a little too far.
3 raps on the door. 3 raps on the
I'm
door,
telling
man.
you, he plugged into Discord and I was like, "What's up, man?" He's like, "Hey, don't call me man. I'm flight lead today."
Sir, sandwiches, please.
Flight
Bizarre.
leader?
Yeah.
Team leader.
Team leader.
Team leader. He was asking me if I made the coffee. That was bizarre. But
Where's the corn?
Yeah.
Where's the corn?
Oh, dude. Oh my gosh.
Damn it,
Sounds good,
Lieutenant. Shea Locomotive Productions says, "Hey guys, great job. Special shout out to Douglas." Thank
There
you,
you go.
And Douglas.
Thanks, Shay.
Thank you,
A
Shay.
special shout out to Douglas.
That's right.
Nobody calls me Douglas except Mover, just for the record.
Well,
That's how
apparently
I know it's him.
Shea Locomotive Productions does
He
now
calls
too.
There's 2 people now.
D Stew Wamba in the house. I love how
Almost.
people butcher our call signs so bad. You
No,
know,
it's
Gronky, Gunky,
no Wamba. He's almost in the house. Get it?
Wombai,
Pumbaa.
Wombai.
Wamba. He's almost here.
It's bonsai with a wom. The
I
womb.
love it.
Hey, Aaron says, Casmo, you have an awesome YouTube intro. That's true. And
That's
before
true.
Gonky muted himself, I was actually going to comment on the fact that our intro is nowhere near as awesome as Casmo's.
I like yours. I was over here jamming to it. I love the music. It's good. It gets
No.
so I'm just excited.
Well,
It's not the music. It's the visual stuff.
You like
Oh, yeah.
you
I'm
entertain
good with
us
that.
while we wait for you, so the anticipation grows. That's
Yeah,
why
it's like
it took
standing
us
in line
so-
at Disney. You gotta have stuff going on to keep
Well,
people excited. Yeah.
and that's why it took so long for us to get to 700 people, because at first nobody's like, "This is terrible." So I think my next project is to figure out a better intro until we get more people.
Our intro actually repels people. They're like, no, I didn't mean
I
it.
can't. This is boring. Yeah.
Not tonight.
Music
I don't have-
slaps, but this is boring as hell to watch. Yeah.
Yeah, what are you
Time for
guys
this.
doing?
God.
The famous author T.R. Matson says, "All right, I'm out of here. You all have fun. Since I came up with the title for my 3rd book in the Rattler trilogy, I'm feeling great. So here's a discount. NDNO10. Go save some money."
There you go. Pre-order. Yeah.
Is that a
Pretty sure that's an O. Or is that a 0?
I don't know.
Oh no. Well, that's a 0. It's an O and then a 0.
You sure?
Yeah. I'm
Right,
willing
dude.
to
Right
bet.
now, Wombat is like, these morons.
Yeah.
'Cause
He's like-
it's rounder. It's an O and then a 0 is the more oval.
Casmo, I can see that, but I don't know which one's which, dude.
It's never down, never out. 10.
Ah, look, Doug.
Now is the
Boom.
chat. Is the chat.
Thank you, Doug.
Boom.
Why couldn't you just be like Wombat? Your discount code is Wombat.
No, dude, it's got to be never down, never out. 10%, probably.
10.
Probably.
Okay.
Thanks, Wombat. That's
Go
awesome.
save some 10%.
That is awesome.
Conqueror says, "Have any of you tried War Thunder?" No.
Sorry.
Doesn't seem like my jam. Yeah.
I tried it, but it didn't have VR at the time, so I just left it behind. Now it has VR.
All right, back to the work.
Back to the work.
Fusion.
Hold on, let me see if I can't, because I think if Douglas does it,
Doug's got it. Let Doug try.
All right, try it, Doug.
Fusion.
Make
I
Douglas
was gonna
great
let
again.
I was gonna let Gonky try.
Well, you're queued up, man. Just hit. It's kind of a silent video, but I mean, so
Well, it was
I don't know
silent.
if you want to.
Mute
It can
it.
be silent.
Make it silent. Yeah.
I don't know.
Now
if
it's
this
silent.
is Chinese copyright.
Why'd you get
rock
rid of?
music?
Why do you keep getting rid of Casmo?
Yeah. What did I do?
So this is their newest carrier, the latest and greatest. It's out on sea trials, whatever that means for the Chinese.
Did it sink? No.
Hopefully it's not steaming around any icebergs. That could be bad. But it looks like it's an actual boat. Looks like it's floating. And it looks like I know Wombat and I were debating whether it had an angled deck or not. And it actually does. So yeah, man. She's at sea. I think it's a couple year process before they give it the old stamp of okay. And then the Chinese will have a small fleet of carriers for their power projection. This one is conventional though. It's big. It's 80,000 tons. So it's, I guess you could call it a super carrier, but you could probably pause it, Doug. But it's conventionally powered, not nuke. So, I mean, I've never not been on a nuke carrier, but all the older guys than me used to tell me like, it's a major, it's much better to have nuke power because you don't have things like you don't run out of hot water, like electricity. Because when you're burning something to try to get that, it's a tall order. And plus, making the wind over the deck. So it'll be interesting to see. I think this thing has electronic cats too. So maybe it can, maybe wind is not as much of an issue. You're muted, Mover.
Oh no.
See, it only took
nice.
one. Electronic or
electromagnetic. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
It's like a rail gun.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a ramp. That's what impressed me the most.
Yeah, this is their first one. Their other, I think, 2 have ramps. So, this one here, man, has real catapults, so they can, load them up with a ton of stuff, launch them. It would be interesting, like, to do an exchange tour to just see how the Chinese
with China.
Well,
hold on. Where's the banner?
Careful.
Easy. This one and probably this one.
Dude, my point is, I'm super curious how they're going to run their operations. Just like not tactically, logistically. Like, this is their first big boat, right? This is the big canoe. So how are you going to feed your 4,000 or 5,000 people? Like, I kind of want to see, what does the chow line look like? What does, I don't know, like what kind of facility they have on this thing.
It'll be a fly on the wall of the Chinese carrier.
Yeah. Like, okay, day operations. This is, how are they going to run it? Recovery operations, just general maintenance. Like, how are they going to run their maintenance and deck procedures, stuff like that. Like, I'm just really curious if they pirated every single thing the Navy does and that's what they're going to do, or if they have their own way of doing things. The French do things a little bit different on their carrier than we do. So I would be very curious to see how the Chinese run their boat.
Do you think they put up the helicopter to go pick people up out of the water, or they just go, they do like
the head full.
They do like the Hot Shots guy with his hat, like put a guy in the dinghy, we'll come back and get him later.
Put some food in it.
We're on mission.
Let's just keep going.
Well, exactly. That's exactly where we're. So do they have man overboard drills? Do they have general quarters every single morning for no reason? I'm sure there's a reason, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I think it would be interesting just to see logistically how they operate a very, very large ship like that. Because I think the logistics piece is pretty significant, because if you don't have that nailed down, resupplying it, a smooth operation, you're going to have a lot of problems.
Well, somebody in the comments mentioned that they only have 4 resupply ships total.
That could be a problem.
Yeah, has 4 or so replenishment ships, conventionally powered. So I mean, how much force projection can you do? I mean, this is like a Taiwan Strait thing, South China Sea kind of thing. This is not, they're not coming.
It's not global force projection.
Although,
localized.
China has been, with my nerd academics I've been doing today, China has been increasing their presence in like the Middle East with the power vacuum that has been created, and they've been doing drills in the Gulf with other countries. So, I mean, maybe that's the next step. You see a carrier, because they're doing anti-pirating, anti-pirate ops, because they're trying to protect their stuff, and then ended up they want a foothold in the Middle East because of oil and natural gas, because that's where they get a lot of that stuff.
And they've been working Africa for quite some time as well.
Right. And the whole thing that just happened in Niger, which is in the news, where, the U.S. forces have been said, get out. And now U.S. forces are sitting there with the Russian forces. And so we're kind of losing a lot of our force projection while China is trying to expand theirs. And I mean, dude, I
don't think they're trying. They're doing.
Well, my point is, we do laugh, but they are a threat. And this is not something you want to take lightly. I would never underestimate our enemy, because they are not our friends. They are our enemies. Don't mistake the fact that they are looking to expand their influence around the world and reduce ours. Ours being U.S. and allied forces.
Yeah, I think you guys are right. I mean, but you have to start somewhere. And they, like Casmo said, they started with the ski ramps first. Now they've got the electromagnetic cats, and probably the next step is some sort of nuclear power. And once they have a nuke boat, that would give them, I think, a vessel that can actually project some power. Even though, I mean, it won't be much, right? If you have one, but you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
We have 18 carriers. Do we have?
I don't know, man. Yeah. No, I don't think it's 18. I can't remember.
Don't touch our boats.
Yeah,
Be close.
They're very expensive.
Don't touch our boats.
They're very expensive. That's why they can't afford the nice straps in the F-18. So.
Correct.
Doug says there's 21 replenishment ships. So whoever said 4.
Yeah, I was going to say
Wikipedia says. Don't
wow.
do that to me unless it's correct.
Could be the same guy.
Says many.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can use the same replenishment ship to replenish your carrier. I mean, granted, the carrier has to stop for a while and hang out in an area, but it can be done.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Yeah. Boats.
In other news, there's not much to talk about here other than it happened. And so,
well, the good news
is the pilot ejected safely from the Holloman F-16. A lot of people have sent this, so I figured we'd talk about it just briefly. But so an F-16 assigned to the 49th Fighter Wing or 49th Wing at Holloman, which is the B course for the F-16 and transition course. Now that's where the schoolhouse is. There was a mishap and the pilot ejected. The pilot is safe, and there's obviously going to be an accident investigation board. And then so the way it goes, safety investigation board, then accident investigation board. Once the accident investigation board is public, that's when we can talk about it. Obviously, no one's going to say what may have caused it, and there's no real reason to speculate at this point. But yeah, the only thing I will say is that, boy, there's been a lot of mishaps, and then there's been a lot of we got lucky mishaps where, thankfully there was no loss of life. And I feel like aviation in general has had a negative trend towards a lot of these things, and they're not related. It's just, there's a lot going on.
Well, Casmo, correct me if I'm wrong, but hasn't this been one of the worst years in Army aviation? In recent history, they've had a lot more accidents and incidents. I thought I read that somewhere when I was reading about the 100 million possibly to Ukraine.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know for a fact that it is, but it certainly seems like it. I mean, we had 2 incidents within 24 hours of each other. I think there was the one in Washington State, and the next day there was one, I think, in Colorado. Yeah, it's not been great. And a lot of it's focused around the Apache, and some of it's mechanical, like we sort of addressed earlier, and then some of it is, I think that just change in training and capability to go fly. But yeah, it's been rough.
No speculation, but I think probably a lot. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if just, flight hours and training, money, if you peel back the onion enough, you're going to probably find a money deficiency.
One of them from a source was a Finney flight.
Oh, and the Apaches, right?
Yes.
It was a perfectly good helicopter.
Well,
I have heard that there was some non-standard maneuvering going on that flight. I don't know if that's true.
And
it'll eventually come out. But
the horrificness about that, similar to mishaps we've seen in the past, that's in a world like this. It's I don't know. We'll see what happens when the investigation completes. But you're right, and that they could all be related. I mean, flight discipline, lower flight hours, it becomes a culture, right? It becomes you start to lose your safety culture.
It becomes a norm.
Yeah.
Well, hey, thankfully he got out, man. I mean,
well, so one of the guys that was telling me about this was talking about when he got back to his guard unit, one of the issues he ran into was, guys who hadn't deployed. Casmo, you may have seen this, where they were coming back. He'd been in the Apache. They were coming back from Afghanistan. The guys that had deployed had seen everything, and they were kind of burned out. And the guys who hadn't were the dangerous ones because they were trying to prove themselves. And so they would try to take all these risks because they were itching to go and didn't go. And it was kind of this contrast. And the safety culture kind of degraded because you had, these two extremes. And anytime you try to prove yourself in an airplane or helicopter, that's when things go wrong.
Yeah, certainly. I think that can happen. Pilots be pilots, right? I mean, some guys are going to showboat and do things that they shouldn't. And sometimes you get away with it and sometimes you don't. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got a chat before we move on to the next thing. That was actually, this is almost breaking news. Andrew Davies says, we will consider any F-16 in Ukraine as a carrier of nuclear weapons, Russian Foreign Ministry says. Obviously referring to B-61-12s, Russia is now conducting tactical nuclear drills. What is your opinion on this escalation?
Bad.
Saber rattling.
Yeah.
I mean, they have already said, correct me if I'm wrong, not that long ago when we were talking about F-16s. Remember when we talked about missions and we debunked it because they were saying that F-16s had, I think it was Lithuania or some country, and they came out and said absolutely not. And the reason was because Russia would see any mission out of NATO, a NATO country, as a direct attack from NATO. So if Ukraine launched any mission out of a NATO country, they were going to that's direct, and that is an escalation of force. And it just sounds like that's a lot of back and forth going on where they don't want to draw this in. They're trying to project this strength when really it's just an unnecessary escalation. I don't know.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think it's saber rattling. I mean, I don't think any halfway sane person wants to use nukes because that's kind of the mutual destruction scenario, right? I mean, we all kind of lose when that happens, including the dude that struck first, right? So I don't know. I think it's just like you said, Mover, saber rattling, posturing, whatever you want to call it. What do you think, Casmo?
Yeah, it's all noise. It's political. It's trying to move things. It's based on emotion, right? So you get people talking about it. You get people worrying about it. Then they vote a certain way or they communicate a certain way to their leadership. So it's politics.
I mean, from just a personal perspective, using a tactical nuke in that environment, I don't even want to imagine, because what's the escalation? What's the de-escalation? Actually, that's more important. What is the de-escalation from the first use of a nuke in a conflict, this century?
Yeah, the very idea of a tactical nuke. It doesn't even make
sense.
Yeah, there's any valid use of a nuclear weapon. I mean, a tactical nuke today is it's still stronger than Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They're still much bigger bombs. But I don't know.
Well, thanks, Andrew. I appreciate it. That's just our opinion, of course. Probably wrong.
Yeah, definitely not the best.
No.
Gonky.
Oh, hold on. Yes. Here we go. Boeing tests software that allows Super Hornet pilot to command MQ-25 during refueling. Fantastic. So this is the the drone tanker that the Navy is getting, which I think is actually a good thing. But it says Boeing's made significant strides in advancing its man-unmanned teaming MUM-T technology. Company showcased the maturity of the software critical for the future of the Navy. Or an F-18 pilot remotely commanded an MQ-25 Stingray to perform aerial refueling, highlighting the seamless integration of manned and unmanned platforms. Says the pilot sent commands to the MQ-25 to release the refueling drogue and refuel the Super Hornet. And I imagine probably when he was done, to retract it. Says the breakthrough software will enhance communication efficiency between the Hornet and MQ-25, enabling safer, more flexible refueling operations over extended distances. Says Boeing software will significantly reduce the time it takes to communicate with MQ-25, giving pilots greater flexibility and refueling from longer distances. And then it goes on to talk about the Stingray itself. So they are, well, how do I fix there we go. Yeah, cool. So it's tracking as far as getting it operational. I would say, movie, you probably back me up, having refueled and fixed wing, but like once I'm hooked up to the boom, I'm not commanding anything, like, because it takes a lot of my brain power just to stay in the basket. So I don't, as far as like communicating, like I'm sure there's more functionality in just like put the boom out or put the basket out, put the basket in. But I wonder if you're gonna be able to like control like turn it. What do you think?
All I could think about when I read this was DCS going return to pre-contact, and the thing just in over and over in a loop, and you're just like, son, just put the boom out, put the boom out. You're
now like, when you say that, it'll do it.
Yeah, I just wait. It's got to be voice commands or it doesn't work. Here's my question to you, Gonky, and Casmo. Maybe, I mean, you flew with the Apache and GWiz Tech. At what point does it become automated on both sides?
Valid. At some point it will. I mean, at some point it'll be the drone refueling on the drone.
Well, no, I don't even mean that. I mean, like, we got Magic Carpet. You've got all these abilities for the thing to land itself on the boat. It's made, quote unquote, carrier landing easier than it was. So at what point is refueling, is it just an automated process?
Dude, at that point, why? I don't know. Yeah.
Well, you say that point. Why are airliners so easy to fly? Because you're a systems manager. You're an automation engineer. Oh,
dude, totally. You're a trained knucklehead who pushes buttons in the right sequence. I mean, that's an
right.
airline.
And that's what all of these. I mean, dude, Casmo, Apache. Are you a helicopter pilot or an attack pilot in a helicopter?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I mean, you're an attack pilot. You're focused on the systems. You're not really flying. I mean, you're flying, but it's secondary.
You got so many extra things helping you do the hard part that and that's the point. So I could clearly see a world where they're like, drone, they talk, and they're like, okay, I'll let you know when you're done.
Man, I don't know. I mean, what if the basket's bent? What if?
Well, but that's why you're there. I think that goes to your point about airline pilots. Why are airline pilots there? It's generally speaking, it's because what if something goes wrong with the automation, or what if something changes, right? All those dynamic changes. Because I mean, how many times do you you're supposed to fly a published arrival and you don't actually fly it, right? And you get vectors at the last second. That's why you're there. But yeah, I can see that, just having that ability to say, okay, remote link up to do your refueling, or or something, some of those basic tasks. But once we start doing those basic tasks, then I think the clock starts ticking to now it's the more advanced tasks.
Yeah.
Gonky, what happens to this thing when it's like, where does it go? It goes back to the ship? Is it in the stack with you?
Yeah, it can be, right? And that's the thing. So it depends. Most of the time the tanker's up at whatever tanker altitude, either topping jets off as they go off to do their thing, or at the same time, after the launch, there's the recovery, given jets that need some fuel to make the recovery time. However, if you're having a tough day at the boat and you've boltered a lot and you start to get low on gas, the boss will tell the tanker, hey man, Hawkside 204 or whatever. And human being pilot knows what that means, and it's like, oh, there he is, whoop, swoops down and just kind of like, okay, let's keep an eye on this guy. So the tanking mission can be dynamic. I mean, if there's an emergency, we did some crazy stuff with tankers because we had a midair in my squadron just to get the guys back to the boat. So there's all kinds of dynamic stuff that can go on that this is not going to be the platform for that. So I think in the dynamic, you never know, man. In the the airplane of the day or whatever, they may have mostly these MQs and maybe one Super Hornet tanker up there for the what ifs until they figure it out, and then they're like, well, we don't need it up there anymore. So, the big win I see with the tanker drone is the wear and tear on the fighter asset, which is the Super Hornet, because I think it's such a waste. The Super Hornet is a terrible tanker. It's the worst tanker I've ever tanked off of. And the airframe hours, and not to mention, I mean, you're putting a lot of weight on those pylons that are already canted out. I mean, it's a lot of, we called it flea, a lot of extra wear and tear on the airplane that is, in my mind, not warranted.
Yeah. Cool. Casmo reattacks.
Good.
Gonky.
Yes. Doug, you can throw it up there. I won't talk a whole lot about this because we actually Mover and I are working on getting one of the pilots from the 53rd to come on and talk about
Or Nav.
Yes,
and or Nav,
yeah, to come on and
Nav
and talk to us about the Hurricane Hunters. So this is kind of the start, right? Officially June 1st, I think, is kind of the start of hurricane season. And the Hurricane Hunters out of Keesler Air Force Base, it's a reserve squadron. They are the Hurricane Hunters. So they do a lot of atmospheric research. And that was actually the plane I was sitting in that was making fun of me earlier in the show. Gosh, man. There's so much room.
You can't look that cool in a C-130 and not expect me to publish this.
Like, look at that. Look at the tiller, man. I mean, the rod goes all the way.
You make this thing black and white, and this is on somebody's wall.
Yeah.
This is going on.
You can't do glass. You can't do glass, man. But anyways, now the men and women of the 53rd, they spend a lot of time doing atmospheric research. They do hurricanes, and they're also doing some stuff off actually the west coast of California. So the tasking is increasing. And here's my plug: they're always looking for men and women, who want to do the mission.
So is the airlift squadron.
Yeah, exactly. Their sister squadron on the ramp, Flying Jennies, right? That and Keesler Air Force Base is a C-130. The flying squadrons are C-130s, and they are definitely hiring. They're looking for men and women that want to support the mission. It's reserve, so you can do some really cool stuff and have a civilian life on the side. So that's my pitch for that. Mover, what do you got? Be a car salesman. Do it.
You can be a hurricane hunter and go work for the Harrison County Sheriff at the same time. They're both hiring. Like if you need a job right now, you could go be a deputy, kicking indoors, doing the lights and the wee-woos, and then on the weekend, working on a C-130, riding in the back of a C-130.
Yeah.
Doing some paperwork in an office, whatever you feel like. I mean, there's jobs for everything.
And Mover and I can say this with like 100% honesty, like really good people. I mean,
yeah, we're going to talk about leadership here in a minute, and this place has good people in charge. It's totally different than some of the other places we've been to.
Yeah. Casmo, go ahead, man. What do you got?
It sounds like a dream given form. Yep. Head on down to your local recruiter.
It's the magic beans. There's no cats in America.
Take your so you can siren.
No, I mean, honestly, the two missions that they have, I mean, they're very different. The Hurricane Hunters are a national asset, because they're very important to the weather mission in general. They've been doing it for a very long time, and they go out there and give us data that we otherwise wouldn't have, and do it reliably and accurately. And they have very good professionals doing that. And then on the other side, you're the tip of the spear with the airlift mission, and they're going out there and doing like actual real world missions daily. Casmo, before the show, we were talking about you in a C-130 and how many times you'd been in a C-130, and that's what they do.
Yeah. If I lived close there, I'd try to get a job. We kind of joked about it before. I'd go do that stuff. It'd be fun. At my age, sure, why not?
Yeah.
Too old, too far.
But they're nice C-130s. I mean, they've got glass cockpits with HUDs and
giant tillers.
Giant tillers.
Yeah, I'd never been inside a C-130, and the cockpit. There's a lot of room. It was, I mean, it's kind of like a Airbus. You stand up, walk around in there. So
it's not a 7.3.
It's not a 7.3, dude.
Casmo, I don't know how you ever flew a 737 like that. Still to this day.
Yeah,
like,
it's tight. It was tough to get in.
Were your knees in your chest?
No, it wasn't that bad.
Could you even get full deflection?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have to. You know, it is landing that thing. You gotta just hang on.
He did the thing. He did the thing.
I remember it was popular, so I did the thing.
Yeah, he did the thing.
But yeah. No, it was just tough getting in the seat. But I mean, shit, I flew Kiowas, man. It couldn't get any worse. In the Kiowa, my knees were absolutely up in my chest. It's terrible.
Yeah, terrible. We have, let's see, from the audience. Michael says, does Casmo have fixed wing time besides DCS?
Yes.
He's
500 hours on the 737 and some mighty Skyhawk time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. What was the next thing we were talking about?
Dude, right here, right?
Yeah,
this bad boy.
What is it? What do you have?
The Air National Guard critical fighter shortage.
Do you have that one?
Do I?
I got it. I got it.
No.
I got it. Don't worry. This is a professional operation.
Of course.
And here we are. So, are we sharing? We're not sharing.
There you go. There you go. Perfect.
So this is a problem. The look at the chief of the Air National Guard. Look at him sitting in the back of this Eagle. So the National Guard boss has warned a potential critical fighter shortage, and we're talking fighters, not pilots, fighters, actual cockpits. And so we've got a 60 fighter squadron requirement across the Air Force. Army General Daniel R. Hawkinson, the chief of the National Guard Bureau, said on April 30th. But we have 25 of those in the National Guard, and our ability to retain that capability when we're already short fighter pilots. So it does a little bit of a fighter pilot shortage. Maintainers will be critically important. Here's the problem. The A-10's going away. The F-15's going away. Some of the F-16s are going away, but not really. They've introduced this plan to have a minimum of 25 fighter squadrons in the Air National Guard, develop a plan to modernize, recapitalize the fleet. But it's like anything else. We don't have enough money, and we don't have enough airplanes. And so what he's pushing for is for the EX and F-35s to help the Guard fleet keep its pace with its active counterparts. The unfunded priorities include 6 EXs, 6 F-35s, and that is it for the article. Gonky, we've talked about this a lot, about how important the Air Reserve component is and what the missions are. People don't understand that you need a good Air Reserve component. You know, the Guard picks up the alert mission, so they're responsible for defending the homeland. You know, when things kick off, now within reason. I mean, there was an intercept for some bombers in Alaska. That was an active duty squadron, and F-22s do their own thing. But for the most part, you know, your alert missions are filled by the Air National Guard. The Air National Guard represents the majority of experience when you go deploy. You know, when deployments happen, they end up, you know, going out there and they're on continuous rotations and stuff. And it's, when you look at how much it costs from a personnel perspective, it's more financially feasible because you're not paying a full squadron of active duty people, right? With all the pay and benefits. If you took how much money that costs, put it on a spreadsheet, it's cheaper to put a traditional guardsman or traditional reservist in that seat than it is to put a full-time active duty person. Now, granted, the squadrons do have full-timers to keep the lights on and keep the mission going, but for the most part, the part-timers make up the bread and butter of what they do. So the problem here is we have, you know, it's kind of like that old house that you didn't work on for forever, and you just kind of let projects go by the wayside, and then 10 years later, you're like, man, what has happened? Like, why are the walls that need to be repainted? And like everything kind of just piled up at once. You know, you need a new air conditioner. The walls are bad. Like everything is bad all at once. And that's what's happened here, because traditionally we had a very quick equipment cycle where the active duty would get a new jet. You know, what's left would go to the reserves and the guard, the F4s, the F100s. And we were using those over a long period of time. Problem is, we burned out our hours in Iraq and Afghanistan, burning holes, doing 7-hour missions, 24-hour ops, just destroys the life cycle on airplanes. And then we had issues with procurement with new, and this is not just Air Guard, Army Guard's the same way, Casmo, I'm pretty sure, where you had procurement issues so that there was no flow, right? There's no hand-me-downs if you don't have new stuff. So, and you don't want hand-me-downs. You still want highly capable aircraft in those squadrons. So what happens? Well, we get into this situation where we don't have the money and we're removing squadrons, and now all we have is an EX, which the buy keeps getting reduced, and the F-35, which the buy keeps getting reduced. And now you're going to have a situation where you're either going to shut down squadrons or you're going to have squadrons with 10 jets or 8 jets or whatever. And it's not sustainable. You cannot keep fighter pilots current if you don't have enough airplanes. And add to that, Guard especially, politics. So these senators are like, we can't lose the military presence in my area. Well, okay, well, we'll give you, 4 jets. Well, 4 jets is not enough just to keep the lights on. So I don't know what the answer is, other than we have to figure out our budgeting priorities, and we have to fix the procurement system because we need new jets, and we need to be able to continue the Guard Reserve mission because it's so important.
Yeah, dude, this is a problem that leadership's dealing with today from piss poor leadership 20 years ago, in my opinion. I mean, because it takes time, right? I mean, you just talked about it as far as like aircraft procurement. I think part of the reason too is F-35. I know we like to bag on Fat Amy, but that the timeline on that jet was not accurate, and I think it's pretty clear that. I mean, the EX is a good example of like, okay, the Air Force is looking for something different. The fact that they didn't build nearly as many Raptors as they thought they would. I mean, if they would have built the original number of Raptors, they want to build 700 or whatever, they maybe had airplanes to give to the Guard, the older ones, right? So, I mean, these are all decisions that were made years ago that we're dealing with now, and I think it was worsened by, like you said, man, the 20 years of moving one sand pile to the next sand pile, boring holes in the sky, so there's a lot of things that are, I think, causing the lack of physical airplanes in the Guard. And it probably goes beyond the Guard. I don't know how to fix it. I mean, I know how to fix it, but we're out of that too, and it's money. So it's tough.
And how do you recruit people? How do you, I mean, we just finished a pitch for a really good squadron, but
yeah,
how do you recruit people if you're going to tell them that, hey, you're not going to fly, you're not going to have any money, your travel vouchers aren't going to get paid, promotion's going to be this huge rigmarole that's not going to make any sense whatsoever, and we're not going to take care of you? Like, how do you promote, how do you recruit people into that?
Well, exactly. I mean, one of the main reasons I got out every time I've gotten out is they wouldn't let me do my job. I got out of active duty because I was going to have to do the dog and pony show to go down this path, this like command path. I don't want to do that. And that involved probably not flying. Well, I just want to do my job, fly airplanes. And if there's no money or airplanes to do your job, a squadron can hire you, send you to initial training. And then you get to where you're going. They're like, oh, sorry, man, we got one airplane. You might fly once a month. And then, dude, you brought up a whole another side of it is now, how do you rack and stack your people? Well, now the politics and the reindeer games matter, right? Number one Seaburn performer, it's like, just stuff that doesn't matter all of a sudden matters. And then, you're sitting there as a young person, like, what am I doing here? And then you get out, and then we have a manning problem, right? So it's money, man, at the end of the day.
Casmo, what do you have?
Yeah, it's just cascading issues, right? I mean, it starts small and then it builds up, and like you said, over time, and then now you're trying to counteract what the last guy did, what the last guy did before him. I don't know that there's a solution. The problem is when leadership, the problem I have is when leadership ignores the problem and attributes it to something completely unrelated, like a lack of patriotism, type of shit. Like, it's like, well, if you loved your country, if you love the army, you just stay through all the bullshit. And it's like, well, most people have a tolerance level that they've just reached it and it's time to bounce. And I think that's what's happening.
Yeah. Casmo, I mean, the Army's gone through the same thing, right? With the upgrades and the recon, that helicopter that they were going to buy, that then they didn't buy, that then they're upgrading. Like they've gone through this thrash too, right?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's always throw money at the thing and then the thing doesn't work out. And yeah. Standard.
I think when we got into a world where money changed hands too many times, we lost the initiative. We lost our ability to defend ourselves when it became whose money is going where to whose pocket. For
you mean war became profitable?
Yeah, when it became a pork barrel spending, when it's like every bill had to have, well, Senator so-and-so's, it's his district, we got to build the left tire on the Apache. And now we've got a situation where we cannot get anything done because there's too many different hands in the pot, and all it's about is about moving money around, and it's not about what's best for our country.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming from a time where money was no object, right? So that's like the past 20 years, nobody cared. Like I remember how many times I deployed, and it'd be like, hey, tomorrow we're going through the rapid fielding initiative. And I'd walk out of there with like 3 duffel bags worth of stuff that, 5 years later I turned back in, it was still in the bag because I never used it. But how much money was spent on that? How many knives do I have? And how much, just crap do I have? And now you're getting to a part where, fiscally, we still have some constraints and those are the issues. But I would also counter and say, like, we still go off of this idea that we're supposed to be able to fight 2 major conflicts at the same time. Is that still valid? And so when we look at how much money we have, because like the defense budget for this year alone was like $800 billion, $825 billion. Like that's not enough. Like where are we prioritizing things?
Where's it going?
Where's it going?
Where's it going? Because we don't have any money. When you go to the squadron level, they're like, we don't have any money. Like we can't send you this. I mean, it is hard for people to take it seriously when they're getting hemmed up over $40 on a travel voucher or, some little like it's like we can't see the forest for the trees at this point.
I always tell the story about when I was a major and I was given my primary duty for 2 weeks was to do an investigation to find out what happened to a missing iPad and a plasma TV. 2 weeks. How much money did the Army spend on me to exist to find $400 worth of stuff? And then 2 years later, we just walked out of Afghanistan and left how much, billions. I was like, well, where's the hand receipt on that stuff? So yeah, you're 100% right. We can't see the forest for the trees when it comes to money.
Yeah.
But like this younger generation, like, I mean, they see that and they see it's a dog and pony show. And they're like, do they want to be a part of that? Well, that's part of your recruiting problem, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they're smarter. I mean, they've got more information than we did.
Exactly. They have more information. It's not that they're smarter. They can see it. We couldn't see it back in our day joining and stuff. And
well, we were blinded by world events. We didn't need to see it. I mean, we didn't need to see it because we watched, airliners hit Twin Towers and we were like, well, it doesn't matter. We're at war. Right. Yeah, we're at war. Yeah. So it's a little bit different.
I mean, I was already in, but to be fair, I was already thinking about getting out when all that happened. So yeah, exactly. You had a catalyst to keep you going. And again, when we got in during that time, even if you got over that sort of level of patriotism, you were still doing stuff, right? And that's the thing. I had a captain that worked for me, and one day he called me. He's like, "Hey, sir, I'm thinking about getting out." And I said, "Just do it. Like, if you're thinking about it, just get out." And he says, "Well, what would you do if you were me?" And I said, "Dude, when I was you, I was deploying, I was shooting at people, I was leading soldiers in combat. Like, I was doing cool guy stuff." I was like, "Are you doing that now?" No.
Right.
It's hard for me to say what I would do if I'm you because it sounds boring.
Yeah. He wasn't doing the job, right?
Dude, that's an actual really good point. When I think the problem we run into for retention is when you feel like there's no mission and you feel like there's no purpose. When I was you bring up when you were a young guy, and I remember being in the F-16 basic course, talking to my unit, and they're like, "Hey, you're going to, as soon as you get here, you're going to war. You're going to Iraq in January." And it was, it's summertime in Luke, and I'm doing close air support missions, and in my mind, I'm thinking, this is what it's going to look like. I need to make sure, because I'm going to war. Disturbed's playing with the indestructible and all that stuff, and I'm like, I'm going to war. This is my mind at work here. And even though later you realize what I was bored holes, like Gonky said, moving one pile of dirt to another, you knew I was training for something to go do something. Now these squadrons are looking at it and they're going, well, what am I training for? Because we don't have we don't have the money, we don't have the equipment, we're flying 4-turn nothing, and I don't have, that is morale crushing when you tell a fighter pilot that you're just training just to bore holes in the sky. What is the end result? What am I doing this for? Versus I could go be an airline pilot, which right now it's always cyclical. When the airlines are doing well, retention and recruiting retention has problems. And when the airlines are doing poor, everybody comes flooding back. But right now, airlines are at historic highs, and there's no light at the end of the tunnel. There's no, here's what I'm training for, here's my purpose, and you're giving me all the tools I need to do them.
Yeah, I slightly disagree with that, man. When in 09, 08, whenever I went to the RAG as an IP, every IP that could get out got out. And back then, everybody was furloughed. So, you got motivated people. If the mission is unclear, if there's no focus in where we're going, what we're doing, you're going to have problems with motivated people, because they're going to go somewhere where they can use their talents and skills and do stuff. Right. All three of us don't want to just sit there and twiddle our thumbs and stare at the wall. And that's essentially what you do. Because a lot of times you go in and it's like, well, I wonder what we're going to do because we have no money, probably some meetings. That's not cool.
Probably.
The worst day on deployment when you're in a Navy squadron, you're on the ship. The worst day is no fly day, because it's all meetings bookended front to back. It's like they knock out all the meetings and you sit there all day. And it's at the end of the day, that was a complete waste. And I cannot wait to get back to flight ops.
Yep. All right. Going to the kids at home, and then we'll get one more article. Shea Locomotive Productions. My local Air National Guard 167th Air Wing went from P-51 squadron to F-86 to C-130 to C-5 to C-17.
Nice.
And I bet you the C-17 dudes think they're flying P-51s.
Why not?
Yeah,
they're faster.
Yeah, they're like, I'm a fighter pilot now. Just kidding.
And they always do that crazy ass landing whenever they're bringing Army guys back to Kuwait, and it's like, come on, man, we're not impressed.
Although that Australian thing where they flew through the buildings, that's pretty cool.
That's a cool picture, man.
Bizarre.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Hey, on the note of complaining about things.
Yeah. Looky here. Hold on. Did that share? Can you guys see that?
Yeah, we see it.
Yeah.
All right. Air and Space Forces magazine. Yeah. So we like to beat up leadership. So the Air Force needs to define toxic leadership, experts say. So this one got added kind of late. I read through it and I don't know. We'll talk about it here in a second. So it says from 2016 to 19, Brigadier General Jeff Holbert was in charge of investigating non-criminal misconduct by senior Air Force officials. But he had a problem. He noticed that subordinates often knew their leaders were doing something wrong, but there was no language in Air Force standards to characterize it. It's a challenge for someone who believes they're being mistreated, but doesn't know how to articulate it. The general's now retired. It's also been a challenge to investigate something where there is no standard. So how do you measure whether or not the alleged thing happens? So I don't know. Mover, did you read through this? It's kind of long, but he just kind of goes through and tries to define, what is toxic leadership. I think it's great that it's been brought to light. Toxic leadership exists. Obviously we have a lot of good leaders in the DoD, but here the official Air Force definition does not have to be the same. They wrote, but there would be at least 3 benefits to creating one. So protect subordinates and whistleblowers. Provide a standard for peers. Enhance accountability and rehabilitation. And then, can it be done? So toxic leadership's nothing new. It's, it's been in our military for as long as the military has probably been in existence. So, and obviously there's a lot of styles in it's kind of a long article, but he talks about, hey, it's a bit of a fine line. What is toxic leadership or somebody just complaining, right? I get it. Or what is toxic leadership? It could just be that your commander is super motivated, wants to be the best command in the wing or whatever. I get it. Dude, at the end of the day, it's super like the guy that wrote this article. I don't think he gets it. I think, dude, there is an extremely easy way to tell if a person assigned in a leadership position is a leader. And all you have to do, go to any social event and just watch. You go to squadron ready room. When the skipper walks in, if everybody stays there, hangs out, hands him his beer mug, drinks, having a good time, that's a good leader. If people start looking at their watches, slam their beer, peace out, got a problem. So it's mover's got it. Don't be a douche.
That's
and
Deuce.
If you're
Deuce says that.
Deuce. Sorry, Deuce. Don't be a douche, because if you are, if you happen to be a leader and wherever you show up, the room empties and you find yourself alone, you're probably a toxic leader for some reason. So, I mean, I don't know, man. It's, I see stuff like this. I'm like, we need to form a committee of leaders to evaluate if leaders are toxic. It's like, no, it's way simpler than that, man. So, don't be a douche. I think is pretty self-explanatory. And, you can go to any command and see. I don't know. Am I crazy? Mover, Casmo?
So no, it's the shit like that's the blind leading the blind. Asking leaders what other leaders are toxic.
Right.
Like it's real simple. Just like you said, you touched on it. Ask the subordinates what they think and do these surveys and then actually read the surveys. I had a leader that I will define as toxic, and I can give you lots of reasons why. But when he finally got kicked out of the unit and I read through some of the surveys that I'd never seen before, but I was able to look at them, it was funny how many times the same shit was mentioned about this person and no one acted on it. And then we're surprised. Oh, I can't believe it. I don't understand. Like the information's out there. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, Casmo, you touched on a good point about command climate surveys. That's a thing in the Air Force.
Maybe too.
So we did one for a very toxic leader in Florida, and he got massacred, like beyond belief. There was not a single positive comment, and nothing happens. Nothing happens because nobody takes it seriously. And the problem that you run into actually goes back to our recruiting and retention problem. The people, and this is not a blanket statement. This is a lot of the people that end up in these positions are because there was nobody left. It's not because they were like, you are our leader, you're going to lead us into combat, we'd follow you, the gates of hell. It's because no one wanted to do the BS that it took to get there. And the ones that did do the BS that it took to get there, you didn't want in that position. Because if you go through the wickets, the papers, the stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with your job, because it's, at least from the Air Force perspective, and I think the Navy's kind of done this a little bit too with PME, they have gone, well, we think we know what makes a good leader. He has to be well-rounded. So he has to read these papers written by other terrible leaders. And so you get this very circular, well, this is the way it's going to be, and this is the way it's always been, and nobody listens. Everybody is in this send-only mode, and there's no receive. And the only real way to fix it is to have a mindset of servant leadership, where it's about the people that you're taking care of, because you realize you're the head coach, and your job is to get out of their way so they can go play the game. And until people realize that, it's going to be this constant fight where you get these people like we had in Florida, where you get an ego-driven person that shows up day one and he's like, today's the day that I'm going to show you you're a bunch of entitled reservists, and we're just going to make, I'm going to make your life miserable. Well, that person is now protected at every level above him because that's how he got to that position. That's how he made 06. You don't get there just because you're a good person. They've got the little secret committees, and they've already had their little gaggle, their powwow. They've picked their winners. And as long as that is happening, you're not going to fix it. Now, the other piece to this, the toxic leadership reporting. I think people don't understand the avenues that they have to report toxic leadership. And I think that actually, I don't think the avenues are good enough, because usually when people say, hey, I've got this toxic leader, they think, where am I going to go? They go, I'm going to go to the IG, Inspector General. I'm going to go report this to the IG. Well, guess what? That's a command issue. Command is the one that deals with it, not the IG. The IG, unless it's reprisal or restriction, doesn't, on the Air Force side. I don't know about, I'm sure it's the same because we all go to the same
it's the same
school.
across.
Yeah, we all go to the same, IG school. So unless it's reprisal or restriction, it's not an IG matter. So it goes to command. So it gets referred back to the people that, it goes one above. Well, guess what? The one above is the one that put that person in the position in the first place.
Right.
So
Yeah.
And then it goes one above that if you appeal it. Well, guess what? That person, they have the whole command philosophy with this is, I trust my commanders. You will hear that a million times from people at the top, from the 1, 2, 3 star level. They'll go, I trust my commanders. Well, the problem with that is when you have a bad commander, no one fixes it. And that just permeates all the way down. One bad commander can ruin up and down both ways. And you just can't fix it unless you have leaders that are willing to listen to subordinates and take care of their subordinates. And until we fix the promotion process, I don't know how you fix it overall.
Yeah, man, I remember that survey. I remember, like, specifically, I was doing all the keyword searches, I was going in the safety magazines, I was like, dude, like, if it, like, this is gonna cause, like, somebody's gonna read this, and like you said, nothing ever happened, man. It was, and you get the nail on the head. We've talked about before. They circle the wagons, right? Because if you got one bad leader, the dude above him doesn't want to look like, well, I can't fire him. My God, I put him
there. Yeah,
right.
I'm the one who selected him.
I'm terrible on me.
The guy that I was talking about, when he finally got pulled out of command, the word from people who had known him for years that were above him said, we were wondering when that was going to happen. What do you mean you were wondering when that was going to happen? You knew, and you helped. You put him in this position.
Yeah.
Well, and then there's nobody left. I mean, the situation in Florida, the guy got put in that position. It wasn't because, he's our rock star. It was because, well, we don't want this guy because he is a douchebag. We know he's a douchebag. This guy is the least objectionable person that we can put in who's qualified to be an 06. That's all it took. Like it wasn't like, because it was like, we have no one else. And if we don't have anybody else, that position's unfilled. Yeah.
Well, the other thing is, typically at these higher levels of leadership, you're talking about beyond 20 years, right? So, you got your smart people that at the first opportunity to get out, they're like, no mission focus. I'm out of here. And then you got your types that are like, I'm just going to claw my way to 20, that are smart, good people, leaders. And that, they occupy leadership levels, hit 20 years and they're done. But there's, the higher command stuff is beyond 20, right? And the pool, I think, gets super small beyond 20 years. Like you said, Mover, there's no one left. And it's like musical chairs. It's like, well, these are the only 4 we got.
Even when you get somebody good, they're muted.
Yeah,
because they can't. So I know a 2-star that is absolute awesome person, and when something bad had happened, he's like, I can't get involved because that it affects them personally, right? Even though I think the best leaders are the ones that are like, I don't care what happens, I'm going to fall on my sword, I'm going to make this right. But people, when people are told stay in your lane, because that's just the system protects itself. It's the mafia. You end up with the horse head in your bed if you do the right thing. So
I do probably probably one of the best I've been very lucky. I've had a lot of good leaders, but probably one of the best ones I had. He was independently wealthy, and he did not care. And by far the best I mean, it ruined his career because he stood up for his guys. But yeah, you're right, man. I mean, service before self, and the higher you go, you don't see it.
Yeah.
Sorry. I don't care how good of a dude you are, like you just don't see it.
Well, it's because of the indoctrination. I mean,
It's the system.
the system, the level of pain you have to go through to get to that, it becomes the sunk cost theory, because you can't let go. You know, it's just like quitting an airline job. You're like, well, I've got all the seniority. I can't leave now. You know, I can't torpedo it at this point.
Well, they look for that. That's one of the qualities of promotion.
Stick it out.
No, that's one of the qualities of promotion. It's like, you know, will this guy toe the line?
Here's the fear I have, though. I mean, that's great. It's affecting retention. That's bad. You know, people are leaving. You know, what was the saying at our old place? People don't leave bad jobs. They leave bad bosses.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
So it's affecting retention, but also I think it's affecting our ability to think outside the container, because if we get into a shooting conflict where people are actually dying, we have not inspired and trained people to think outside of the tactical situation, like the Doolittles and the stuff that you need in a world war, where it's like we have to be innovative and we have to not be robots. And dude, that's what worries me, is we're losing that innovative leadership spirit.
But those guys present themselves like, if you look at leadership in World War II, you know, why was it that so many of our top generals were very young dudes? They weren't generals when it started.
That's
right.
Valid.
The dudes who couldn't deal, they quickly were put aside. It's in these times where you don't really need that. That's when those guys excel, because you're right. Because the dudes that want to do the job, they're not doing the job. They want to get out to go do something else. The other dudes stay. And I don't like that blanket statement, because there's a lot of good people that stay and they fight the good fight and they stay the course. But I think that's what ends up happening in those situations. And that's why for us in the beginning of any major conflict, we kind of get, kind of beat up on, and then it takes time for us to catch our breath and get the right people in the right places and the right equipment. And then we go forth and do stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. What did I just do? Okay. So we got a couple chats and then we'll get into the mental health minute. Captain Rex says, language is a funny thing. We had a hell of a time with EPRs 1 year as AWACS was not in the approved acronym list at Tinker. Wow. It doesn't surprise me. Now they changed it again. It's not even like it changes every year. Joe says, it sounds like the Air Force is going through the motions.
DOD, man.
Some people are, some people aren't.
Yeah.
I think the closer you get to actual boots on the ground, mission, knife in the teeth, like I believe the PJs, are out there when they were out there doing that Pedro mission, that they were out there doing what needed to be done. A-10 guys, when they were out there doing the mission, I think when the mission presents itself, like Casmo says, you do see a lot more of that. But a lot of communities have been so underused for so long that they've lost focus.
Or gutted.
Yeah, or gutted.
Yeah, 100%, man.
All right, so today's mental health minute. Gonky, did you want to run this first, or did you want me to?
This is you, man. I did last week.
You.
I did last week, man.
So I thought this was funny because I've been getting a lot of advice lately from a lot of good friends.
Including some people in this chat room.
Including some people in this chat room, and some people not in the chat room.
Should I listen or?
Yeah, you go ahead and mute yourself for a minute. But I thought it was important because as humans, this is how we operate, right? It's a survival thing. Communication and being able to, it's what separates us from other mammals, is our ability to communicate, get information from somebody else, get kind of an idea on how to handle problems. And we take that information, we process it, and then we make decisions. And I've talked about this on the channel in other mental health minute segments where I've said, hey, talk to somebody, get some advice. Don't go through this alone. What I will say, though, and this is, I think, more advanced, is you have to temper that, because one thing you realize as you start to get advice from people is that everyone has a bit of bias, and it's not a bad thing. Everybody has bias based on their own experiences. For example, you may be going through a situation and somebody may be very much for you doing some action, whatever that is, because their experience was very positive. And everything that they tell you is tempered with, it worked out for me, it's going to work out for you. And sometimes to the point that they will ignore your specific circumstances and just remember the good stuff about what happened to them. Conversely, someone who vehemently opposes something because something bad happened to them may say, hey, don't do that. It's bad. And you may miss out on an opportunity. So I'm not saying don't get advice. I'm saying temper the advice you get with the reality. Look at what they're telling you and then look at what their background is and how they've kind of come to that conclusion, and then get advice from people that are on different sides. If one person's telling you something extreme one side and another person's telling you the extreme other side, take both of those inputs and find the middle ground that works for you. But it goes back to stuff we've talked about before, where you have to have a strong core and a strong belief system, because otherwise you'll fall for anything. So you have to be able to center yourself and then take those inputs and align those with your own purpose to make yourself take the right path that's right for you. Because what you'll find is if you're taking the wrong path, you're going to be miserable, and everything will tell you that you're taking the wrong path because it'll be evident in how miserable you are in taking that path. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. And like I said before, do talk to somebody. I'm not saying don't, but just if you're getting advice, just make sure you understand, consider the source. And then if you're considering harming yourself, for sure, call 988, get a mental health professional, Military One Source, or 911 if it comes to that, because people are there to listen. And sometimes maybe that's all you need is somebody to listen. You don't actually need advice. Gonky?
Yeah, it says in the Bible, surround yourself with wise counsel. And that's basically, Mover, as usual, you covered most things. But, my take on it is, you really have to know, if you're dealing with something and you're looking for advice, you just have to know who you're talking to. I'm never going to call Mover and ask him how to change a dirty diaper, right? He has no clue, right? He'll give me his opinion, but like, hey, how do you do it when they're kicking and screaming, right? And that's, from a flying standpoint, that's why, I wanted to be a military aviator. I wanted to surround myself with the the best, right? Because you learn off of that, and the advice that you're getting with regards to learning how to fly and operate, airplanes, aircraft, it's unbiased, and generally speaking, in a debrief type scenario that you're listening to. So, it makes you better, but you have to watch, like, I guess always talking to your best friend about everything might not be the best thing. So I think, Mover, you're right, man. You need to seek out people that are like, who's going to be for this? Who's going to be against this? Listen to both sides, be objective, sit in the middle, sit in your hands, think about it a little bit, make a decision. I think that's good advice. And like you said, man, don't make it. Don't make a temporary problem a permanent one. So that's all I got to add.
I would add to what you just said there real quick. Sorry to Casmo, but I want to add, if you're giving the advice, I think we tend to want to impress upon others our own ambitions, biases, etc. So once you determine that whatever advice you're giving to that person is not in a line with what they want, stop. Because all you're going to do is alienate them and make them resent you. So there's that line as a friend. Don't cross it and be pushy. Casmo, what do you got?
Best thing to do is take a piece of paper and you write down pros on one side and cons on the other, and you just go with that. But no, I think that's true. What I was thinking about is, it seems like people hang so much of their personality on decisions that they make. And I saw this a lot in the military, where people give you advice. Oh, you need this assignment. You need to do this assignment. Well, I don't want to do that assignment. Well, no, you got to. And it's because in their mind, that's the one that's going to get you where you need to go or whatever, because it's the decision they made. And that's what it ended up always turning out to be. It's like, well, that's what I did. And by saying I don't want to do that, you're almost telling them you made a bad decision. And and everyone just associates their decisions with their personality. But I think you're right. You have to almost find somebody that's outside of all of it and just like sort of give like the cliff notes to what's going on and get just a completely out of left field advice versus somebody who's in it, right? It's like asking Gonky, which should I fly, the F-16, the F-18? Well, the F-18, no. Of course, he's going to say that, like, why am I even asking him? Stupid question.
If you ask an airline pilot what the greatest job in the world is, a lot of them are going to tell you it's the best money, it's the easiest money.
Right.
Until you're like, well, wait a minute, I don't like travel. Oh, well, how can you not like travel? Because they're in it.
Yeah. Right. I've had this debate very recently where I made a joke to some other airline pilots in a forum that I'm in about, guy, it's all these Army guys. And I'm like, yeah, Army guy complains about being deployed too much, goes to the airlines and is gone all the time. And guys are jumping on me like, oh, it's not the same. I'm like, whoa, you don't need to justify your choices to me. Like, it's the same thing, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. You're gone a lot. I've missed more Christmases in the 2 years being an airline pilot than I did in 20 years of being in the Army. Just that's just the way it is. You don't need to justify your choice to me. If you're happy, you're happy. Fine. Yeah.
Doug, as the person that I go to outside, I love Doug because Doug will always give me sometimes it's outside the circle, sometimes it's inside the circle, but he's very familiar, but he's got the great advice. So Doug, what do you got for this?
That's a lot of pressure, man. I've been trying to come up with something really solid the whole time.
Quick Google it.
I don't know. I was thinking about our relationship, Mover, and I find that I think if an outsider listened to us talking about things that we care about, they would probably think we're mad at each other, at least sometimes, because we argue. We've got this habit of going point counterpoint a lot, and it's often valuable to me. I hope it's sometimes valuable to you, because I know when it comes down to it, we're not just getting, hey, this is what I think is best for you, or wait, let me phrase that differently. We don't always get, this is what I think will make you happy. We get to, this is what I think is best for you, which isn't necessarily the same thing. You always want to look out for your friends. What I was hearing the whole way through is I need to have more friends who don't like me.
It's not,
because if you like somebody, you're liable to tell them what you think they want to hear instead of the truth sometimes.
Well, so I guess where I was getting at is like some people that will like you will tell you what they think is best for you.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you got to take that medicine. And it might not be the case. The medicine may not be your medicine. And so, sometimes that's because they don't have all the data. They don't know, specifically your situation. They have a good idea, but then they apply like generalities. I mean, Gonky, you've joked about, not wanting to be a self-made man and not needing, an airline job. And a person that's getting into the airline industry, I guarantee you right now, if you or I made a, hey, I quit the airlines video tomorrow, you would have 1,000 angry comments from airline pilots, people who want to be airline pilots, or people who just think it's the greatest job in the world that wish they were airline pilots, saying you're an idiot. Even if you were saying that because your land business suddenly took off and you didn't need it anymore, you didn't want to be gone from your family, you would have people, because that's their bias. That is where they're coming from. And they think that's what's best for you because that's what they want to do.
Oh yeah, dude. When I didn't have an airline job, people were like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
In our line of work anyways.
That's a really good point.
One of us.
I think being a parent exposes you to that piece of it a lot, not trying to push your own ambitions on your kids. I have one son who was a very successful race driver, and I was super proud of it. And I often feel like, does that mean I left the other one out? Does that mean I pushed the one who was into my own thing? It's finding what somebody else needs can be really difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a comment that says, I just started flight school today at Lift Academy, and I guarantee you he would be like, you're an idiot. Why would you give up that job?
Yeah.
No offense. I'm just from its perspective. Its perspective is
exactly.
It's some people apply their own ambitions to yours. And, if I say, hey, I would rather, work from home, spend time with Luna, volunteer in my community, and go, do creative pursuits, people would be like, you want to do what?
You could be making all that money.
Yeah.
When I quit, when I told people like back home that like I'm getting out of the Navy, they're like, dude, you're a F-18 fighter pilot. What are you doing? I'm like, I'm going to quit. They're like, are you crazy? I'm like, I don't think so. So I mean, yeah, I didn't get any advice from them.
On the flip side, that's how you see the biggest success stories. The guys and girls that look at Mace.
Mace, exactly.
Mace is a great example of this.
Exactly.
Leaving active duty, leaving the military, and going, I'm going to pursue my own thing. And look at how it worked out for her. I mean, I'm proud of Mace. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
Casmo? I was hoping.
Yeah.
Okay. That's enough.
Period.
Right. The horse is dead.
We'll stop.
It's over. We've gone over the 2-hour limits.
Look at that. Nobody beat on your door, man.
I don't know. I'm wearing noise canceling headphones if they were. So fuck, I was thinking I'd take a joke. I don't know.
Slide a note under the door. It's like, please be quiet.
He's looking.
It's like, I know leadership sucks. Please be quiet.
You're not at the military right now. Why are you talking about it?
Who are you talking to in there? What is wrong with you?
Shut up. I'm studying for a sim.
Oh,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I think, great success, Mover. I'm glad you were able to actually make it.
Me too.
Yeah, Casmo, man, thanks for coming on, dude. It's been a while, huh?
I was looking forward to the Casmo and Gonky show. I didn't think he was gonna be here, so I was like, "Yeah, we'll take over." But it's fine. I'm glad you made it.
That's not what he signed up for.
So, Casmo, when you texted me earlier, is Mover going to be there? I'm like,
I know. He sent me four messages on Discord. Like, you're not going to be there, right?
Yeah, I'm like,
you're test, not here, right?
If I say no, does that mean Casmo's bailing too? And it's just the Gonky show? Because that's not going to be good.
I just ignored it because I was afraid he was going to.
I know you did. Yeah.
I responded.
His response was the link.
Yeah, there's the link. See you up there.
Dude.
See you at step.
Yeah, no.
Stay at attention.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there going to be a debrief?
Yeah. Well, look, Casmo, I've got a notepad. We can start with the.
Oh no!
Sorry, my camera's breaking up.
Yeah.
I tried drawing on the MS Paint thing, and it didn't work out at all.
Terrible.
Yeah,
I like that part.
Oh yeah, it made the video.
Yeah. Well,
do we have anything else?
Yeah. No? Any more last?
No, nothing from the kids at home. Well, successful. We'll see you next week. I'll be back in the command center next week. Casmo, you're always welcome, dude.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
But we do have people coming on the show, right, Gonky?
Yeah. Hey, yeah. So we're working on getting real weather pilot and/or nav come on to talk to us about the hurricane stuff, which is pretty cool. And then working real hard to get Kevin K2 on. He was the guy that was in charge of all the aerial stuff for Maverick and the upcoming Blue Angel IMAX. So that'll be really cool. I talked to him a little bit on the phone. Super nice guy. So looking forward to get him on the show and bigger. The future is so bright here at the Mover and Gonky show. now that we're one production. Yes.
All the clips from this show will be on this channel.
That's it. Yeah.
And go check out Gonky's channel. It's the real Gonky. Is there a fake Gonky out there?
I'm sure there are, man. I mean,
we should start one just to gin up views.
I'm gonna be Gonky.
Yeah.
Well, you're not the real Gonky. So don't go to just Gonky. It's got to be the real Gonky.
Real Gonky.
Yeah. And I'm coming out with my first book with words. So it should be out here in a couple weeks.
I can't wait.
It's a kid's book, so it's Casmo. You'll be able to follow it, but I mean,
thank you.
Casmo's Mensa, dude. He's smarter than you, Gonky. What are you talking about? He's way smarter than you. Why would you insult a man like that? Casmo, what's coming up for you, dude? Kiowa?
Just yeah, nonsense DCS stuff, and then start the new job early part of June and move in June. So yeah,
Yikes.
So we got to get the.
I'm enjoying the chill right now. I got a couple of weeks of just chill.
Take
and
care of
then
yourself.
back to it.
Moving is way up in the list of traumatic events.
Yeah, and this should be the last move. So that's what I've moved like 11 or 12 times. This is the last one.
So you're going to teach me the Kiowa as I taught you the Viper, correct?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, we're gonna make it hardcore.
As long as there's no cold starts. As long as there's no cold starts. I didn't put you through
easy.
that.
Yeah, that's true. I'm glad you didn't do that. No, I think you'd like it. It flies fun. Yeah, we need to get together. I saw you in that Discord, so
yeah, I'm ready. I just got to set it up. And listen, one more time for the ladies.
I knew. You know what? When I said that, she was like, "Oh, that was a mistake."
Foolish.
Unsend.
Here's an emotional support, Luna, for your troubles.
Dude, appreciate it.
You couldn't make it.
Yeah, exactly. Casmo was like, "Hey, dude."
What are you doing with my dog, dude?
I'm a dog's ass now. I get it. That's so cool.
No, look, here we go. We got.
I didn't know we had that one.
Yeah,
thing's awesome.
We got that one. All right, we've off the rails. We'll see you guys next week.
See you guys next week. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Where's the button? There it is. See ya. Oh.